What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also you know what? We're having technical. Okay, let's get this right here. Now we're right. 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. And since 2020, and now the teams reach out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we are broadcasting live on Sunday, June 8th, 2025. And better weather in Toronto today. But you know what? It's more importantly, I get my shows mixed up here. It's Black Canada Talking with my good friend and associate, Cesar Ndema-Moussa. What is up, Cesar?
Hello, Dr. Vibe. Hi, brothers and sisters, and hi to all of our allies. Thank you always for having me. Glad to be here. Clearly, it seems summer is before us. Unfortunately, the forest fires that are impacting the air quality. Yeah, the environment, it's not one of our topics, but I've been saying it for years. 21st century Pan-Africanism, Black consciousness, community building cannot be truthful without addressing climate change, the environment, and how it notably impacts us, as we saw with COVID, pandemics, but as we see in terms of climate change, the continent most negatively impacted are where you have poorer countries. It's easy to be thinking about the impact upon Africa and the Caribbean. So, yes.
Just as you open that conversation topic as a mini conversation right now, what are your thoughts on the whole aspect of environmental racism?
It's absolutely truthful. And this is why those who listen to us who are, environmentalists or who have more consciousness about the environment, I do apologize to them that I don't talk about it enough, contrarily to, for example, how much I read about it. Dr. Vibe, you get my professional emails, and I do share articles about that, and I try to awaken people. But, when we have a show in the limited amount of time, quite unfortunately, it's never a first thought in light of so many things. So absolutely, there is environmental racism. I, myself, and anyone from Cameroon, as many other countries, we are results of environmental racism. The very structures from white supremacy, so white supremacy, aka racism, but also class systems. If you notice in any city, the richer neighborhoods tend to be in the location that are better poised in regard to the environment, the quality of water, air, etc., etc. A perfect example is to look at from the favelas in Brazil to the hood. Talk about Flint, Michigan. We can talk about. I hate that term because that term is so insulting, but I use it because the people concerned also do. Reserve for indigenous peoples. Time and time again, environmental racism is all around us because, as in anything that surrounds us, there is a link of power, of predation, of domination and oppression. I'm just going to jump into one of our topics to give an example. The rich and richer people increasing the amount to which they're getting laser eye surgery because, with the risk of global destabilization of the economics, they don't want to suffer from the supply chain that would require contact lenses and solutions. So they have the means to be able to get laser eye surgery. Meanwhile, we're talking about a world in which so many of the poor and poorest can't even afford the glasses for a better eyesight. So yes, environmental racism is all around us. Look at the places that are most polluted. Look at, but not just that are most polluted, but the history to why they became more polluted. The very nature of power. I was actually I'm sharing about that this week about how, for example, the coast of Somalia has been used for dumping toxic material, including toxic nuclear material, having an impact on the soil, the mental health, the physical health of the nearby populations, mixed with a socio-political destabilization between failed government. Less today, we support Somalia to rise up, of course, but failed government and Islamic terrorism. But it's very important to understand this, and this is not to, of course, we will never justify any type of terrorism. But let's not forget, for many populations, they resort to terrorism or extremism due to poverty, and poverty never happens accidentally. There are those, a minority that gets richer, and there's a majority that gets poorer, and eventually it reaches a crisis point that leads some to resort to terrorism. How does that connect to environmental racism? Well, exactly. Look at the environment in which they live in, and even when you look at those who are so-called rich, look at those who are even richer than them, will notably supply them with the means to destabilize the societies. It's the same way as talking about, right here, North in the Americas, the situation in Haiti, there is environmental racism. We can easily, it doesn't need a study to figure out who are the poorest, who are the hungriest, who would live in the neighborhoods where you have issues of sanitation. Meanwhile, the richer neighborhoods, just as the armed gangs, where did they get the means to remain on the island?
Before we go to break, where are you off to this week? It sounds like you're traveling as always.
Yes. This week, I will be in Belleville. Up to the GTA, close to the GTA, sorry, close to the GTA. But I also, I got to plug that one in. I want to make sure that I can arrive at least, for if not for the second quarter of the Oklahoma City Thunder versus
Oh,
Indiana
yes.
Pacers. And,
Yeah.
we got Canadians playing on both teams. Salutation to my brother Pascal Siakam of Cameroon.
Yes.
But.
Okay.
I got to give it to our brother Tyrese Dagger Burton. Dagger Burton. That
The Dagger Man.
I was watching it. Dagger Burton. Harley Burton? Mm-mm. Dagger Burton.
Dagger Burton.
The Pacers did not lead the entire game until 23 seconds by one, and they won. And it's not the first time he does it.
100%.
This is the basketball that we love. But
right.
SGA from SGA from the GTA, right? GTA,
yeah.
SGA.
Or Hamilton. I said the GTA or Hamilton, one of the two.
Yeah. Him and the brother Lugens Dort. We'll talk about it in a little bit, maybe, but absolutely, I expect a big comeback from them. It's didn't expect Indiana Pacers to be there in final. I know I'm not the only one, but I'm not a gambling man. But no, I'm really enjoying that, and also enjoying supporting our Canadian team. Let me do the elbows up, Edmonton Oilers.
Okay, you're showing Canada too much nationalism going on, but no more nationalism since '47. So
yeah.
There you go. All right. So
I'm not a nationalist. I'm definitely not nationalist, but I am absolutely patriot. I am a believer of the idea of Canada over time. When I say over time, we go back a few decades ago, before the 1960s. Whether you're Black from the Caribbean, Black from Africa, we were not welcome in this country. So the evolution of the ideal of Canada, I've had the honor, the privilege, the distinction of having represented Canada in 3 separate sectors.
Right.
In martial arts, in my early 20s, in academia, in my late 20s, and at the United Nations for the last 3 years in a row. So the standing up for this country and to help to make it be true to its constitution, not to some Judeo-Christian, French, English. No, 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 no. The constitution and the charter in terms of what Canada can become. Kind of just as if we were African Americans right now. I'm patriotic. Never nationalism is a disease of Europeans. Nationalism in terms of what? Never, never. I'm not even a nationalistic nationalist when it comes to Cameroon, because those are creations, right? States, fictional lines, and then people live and die over them. Never. Patriotic in terms of the ideals of what this country can be. Yes.
All right. We're going to go for a quick break. And when we come back, we got a number of conversation topics. You can guess what we're going to be chatting about first. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. We will be back in 30 seconds. Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lala Key are in the house. What is up?
The thing that Democrats should take away from the loss isn't what Harris did wrong so much, so it's what they did wrong.
And I'm going to tell you right now, we are the ones who are going to have to save our own selves. Don't be looking for some white man to come and save you.
The people who created the phrase "stay woke" are like, woke ideology. We would have never put those together. And then what is that ideology? Oh, you mean differences? Oh, you mean people who aren't like you?
All right, you can catch it Saturday afternoons, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala, where they try to make sense of the nonsense going on in America, especially politically. Let's do some homework. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I appear on, please email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And then Dr. Tachi, Indie Suit Media, independent content creators platform, which I'm a part of, and also on the advisory board. Got about 25 independent content creators, and in about 14 months, the platform has almost 30,000 YouTube subscribers, which makes it in the top 4% of all YouTube channels when it comes to subscribers. And then finally, if you want to get a hold of Cesar, email address president@rootsandculturecanada.com, and then Facebook at Cesar Remy Emery. All right. I think people want to hear what you have to say about the two bros, 47 and Musk. You have money, power, and no respect. Go for it, my man.
Well, that's exactly it. Money, power, no respect. So who is surprised at what is happening right now? It was said from the very start, two big egos, narcissistic men. How long would it last? It seems 4 months is the time of the divorce that's happening here over the so-called big, beautiful bill. And you will notice, Dr. Vibe, it is interesting how Republicans come to power claiming to, drain the swamp, and yet add more corruption, talking about reducing the government expenses. Big government is a liberal thing, and yet they just add on to it, while making the poor poorer and enriching the rich and the richer. Let me put some perspective into this conversation. The disagreement that started over the bill, this abomination regarding notably health expenditures, but of course, they would not dare to limit or diminish the defense expenses that are actually over $1 trillion. There's the official mentioning of expenses for the defense, usually 800, 900 billions, but you add the consultants, you add the etc., the three little dots and the fine prints, it's over $1 trillion. They don't tackle that. They also don't tackle, notably DOGE, the so-called government Department of Government Efficiency, wouldn't tackle government excesses. And Trump called it, in the middle of this argument with Musk, a review of the expenses / government contracts to Elon Musk. As rightfully he said, how come the Biden administration didn't address that? It's surprising, but it's surprising because the U.S. government has become far too dependent on one man. Technically, for those who don't know this, and you can feel free, my friends, people listening, feel free to look at the evolution of Elon Musk's wealth, aka from PayPal to becoming this government contractor to becoming the richest man in the world. It's the U.S. government that made Elon Musk rich, and people investing in the trust that this guy is basically a money-making machine by the dependency that he creates upon the U.S. government and by extension, relations with other governments such as China. Conflict of interest, very obvious, even more when you add the investigations that were to be launched upon him. So for Musk to turn to support Trump was strategically made sense, because if the Democrats were to win, he would have been entering a cycle of court litigations with a negative impact upon his business. So in principle, his support of Trump financially, as he put it very well himself, without him, Trump likely would not have won, and the Republicans likely would not have won in Congress. What is it, 250 million that he personally invested into the campaign? Many saying it was the biggest, and I think I even thought of it at once, the biggest positive investment, return on investment in terms of money to power. But Musk has been losing a lot. In this current, at one point he lost up to $200 billion. What's happening here is beyond the ego and narcissism of these two men. What's the other thing? Trump talking about wanting to sell off the Tesla that he got at the White House. Meanwhile, Musk going nuclear, revealing that Trump's name is in the Epstein files and, providing a video about it. But I want our people to understand something here. And this is, I talked about this, I posted about this earlier today, but I didn't give much information. In Western history, I can think of 3 famous cases where money and power came in conflict. Those who know a little bit of history may follow me here. So this is not about so-called, example, the French Revolution, where the bourgeoisie got in conflict with the aristocracy, aka the noble class, the bourgeois versus the noble class, and manipulated the people. So people have this notion that the French Revolution was about the people versus the nobility. But no, there was also the bourgeois. Just like the American Revolution, the George Washington and, the fathers of the revolution, they were the bourgeois. They just, you kind of use a speech narrative to mobilize the masses against those above you, aka the nobility, aka the crown, the French crown, the British crown. But the 3 examples that I'd like to give in ancient Rome, because, if you want to understand Western history, you must always start looking at ancient Greece, ancient Rome's parallels, lessons of history. In ancient Rome, there was a time when, Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Croesus had what was called the triumvirate. Triumvirate in terms of these 3 men. Croesus was the richest citizen of Rome. Pompey was the most admired. Pompey Magnus, that was literally his name, Pompey the Great. And you had the ambitious, skillful, bold Julius Caesar making a name for himself. In the conflict that ended up ensuing for ultimate power in Rome, and for those who don't know this, Julius Caesar was not an emperor. He was a dictator, but not a dictator as we understand it today. He was technically the ruler, but not an emperor. In the conflict that happened between the 3 men, Croesus the richest man, ended up dying in his quest of growing his power. The second example I would give is very interestingly the one in France, the Castle of Versailles, the Palace of Versailles, where King Louis XIV had a conflict with one of his ministers, Nicolas Fouquet. Long story short, let me see if I have it right here. I have here the photo of one of our heroes of Black history, Alexandre Dumas, the writer of the Three Musketeers. And Alexandre Dumas, 19th century Black historian, white passing, sure, but he was mixed and often referred to as a monkey in 19th century France. The background of the Three Musketeers story and the Man in the Iron Mask is because Minister Fouquet, who was very rich, arguably the richest man of the Kingdom of France, threw a party that was so lavish that he made the king, the young King Louis XIV, aka the Sun King, envious and jealous. And from there, imprisoning Fouquet, Man in the Iron Mask, many historians assume, and leading to the construction of the Palace of Versailles. The last example I will give, Fouquet died in prison, for those who didn't understand it. The last example I will give is the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, in which you had the rich class, and notably supported by foreign powers, trying to wrestle control, aka save the Romanov monarchy, versus those who through conflict, through power struggles, aka the Bolshevik, came to power. And of course, this rich class got borderline wiped out. Here, we have a situation where, what was his name again? Steve Bannon, talking about reviewing the legal status of Elon Musk. The man who jokingly called himself a true African American, who is born into privilege, aka Elon Musk's daddy was owner of, I think, a diamond mine in South Africa. He might become the first white man, expelled out of America, despite all his wealth and fame. It's still preemptive to say this. Maybe right now they're having a break from the one-on-one fight, but this also speaks to issues within the Republican, maybe not so much the MAGA movement per se, who like cultists are staying faithful to Donald Trump, but in terms of the Republicans, because effectively, Elon Musk is right. This big, beautiful bill is technically an abomination, and yet Elon Musk is a person who went in with a chainsaw to cut through government spending, as Bill Gates put it so well, the richest man in the world, causing the poorest people, notably children, to die due to cuts and unnecessary cuts and ineffective cuts, we must add, that he's making. Where is this going to go? Dr. Vibe, let me put it to you like this. Just as right now, Trump has sent the National Guard in LA to quiet the riots against ICE and immigration deportation. There is a group of people that's very nervous. You know what that is, Dr. Vibe? Who are nervous about the summer they may have. Like I said, it's going to be a hot summer.
You were right. You were right.
Those so-called Afrikaners fleeing a white genocide. What will be their fate when Elon Musk falls in disgrace? Because we know where that influence came upon Trump to bring them in. It's a hot summer, and we're only in the beginning of June.
Well, and officially, summer hasn't started yet.
Officially hasn't started
yet. I got to catch up with the comments here. We've got Inspired Thoughts saying, good evening, gentlemen. Sorry, it took a while to get your comment, so I hope you're still here. And then Matt Duffy. Matt, good to always have you here. Matt is saying, Musk only has power because he used generational wealth to buy PayPal and use the money to further enhance his wealth. He boasts that he is self-made, but it's all an act.
That's what I read.
There you go. Let me ask, what do you feel is going to happen next with this? Oh, thank you. Inspired Thought says still here. Good. You're still here. Fantastic. What do you think is the next step? 47 said he has no interest in speaking to Musk. You
can't. No. I don't buy that for a second. Donald Trump has shown two sides at the same time. One side that he can forgive as long as you come back, on your knees begging to be back in. But you see, Musk is not your regular person.
You're kidding.
The most powerful man in the world versus the richest man in the world. However, there is a sense of honor that comes to it in terms of the nature of the disrespect, the crossing the line. We're talking about a Donald Trump who will go down in history as the president who has committed statutory rape. I mean, we can use legalistic jargon, but to anyone who's honest, it pretty much sounds like the president is a rapist, on top of being a fifth, on top of being racist, on top of being insurrectionist. It adds up. But here, this is not just something in court. This is something by someone beyond having X/Twitter has a lot of fans. The so-called tech bros, the so-called young white men will look up to have. I mean, Musk has how many kids by now? 12, maybe 13? And, nobody's thinking of stereotyping him the way we would stereotype a brother who has 2 or 3 kids by 2 or 3 different mothers. No, it's Musk, the richest man in the world. There will be a conversation. There will be a reply. There will be something like some unexpected investigation type of thing. Musk lost his mind in terms of losing, how do you call that, contrast regarding electric vehicles, right?
Yeah, well, I just want to interrupt you there. Some people are saying because the Republicans are taking out the credits or the subsidies for electronic vehicles in the big beautiful bill, that's why he's gone rogue.
But that's Musk's fault. The demographics of people who buy electric vehicles does not tend to be Republican. So he literally put his money on Trump to save himself from investigations without calculating that the people who buy his products don't tend to be Republican and poor. They tend to be Democrat and middle class and above. And to make it worse, due to his political venture, what ends up happening across the world, including in China, if I'm not mistaken, the sales of Teslas have been plummeting, notably with the Chinese company, electric vehicle company, BYD, increasing. It's fascinating. I wouldn't want to be in Musk's shoes because, being sent back to South Africa is not the worst thing that could happen to him. That arguably could be the nicest thing that could happen to him because even where he's at now, having moved his headquarters to Texas, notably for tax impositions, but also for culture, the culture war and all that, Texas is a red state. Texas is a traditional red state. These MAGA, aka 30% of the Republican electorate, they're not going to move from Trump to Musk. Because it's really like a back and forth, like a tennis game. Musk did have a very solid argument. Donald Trump is 3.5 years left. I don't think he will succeed to get a third term, etc., no matter what kind of foolish manipulation he tries to go by, or Mike Johnson basically bending over as usual. But Elon Musk has a few decades to go. He's only in his early 50s, if I'm not mistaken. So if anything, Elon Musk, unless he gets, how can I put it? an Epstein type of accident, if you know what I mean, we can expect Elon Musk for another 2 to 4 decades. Quite interesting. The right side of politics in America is literally being destroyed from inside out due to money, power, and no respect. I don't think Bush Sr., just as Reagan, and even Nixon, I'm not sure they would recognize the party, nor that they would approve not only of the man who is leading it, but also of the nature of the rivalries that are happening inside of it.
Okay, comments here. Inspired Thought says, as for Bill Gates commenting on Musk, this is Bill distracting from the same thing he's accusing Elon of.
I have to relatively disagree. And I say this because Bill Gates has committed himself to philanthropy as Warren Buffett and a few other billionaires that they want to give back to society. But indeed, the very notion of monopolies that have been applied in terms of techniques to, Bill Gates, Apple, etc., to have the wealth and power that they hold beyond economics, but also influencing politics. Microsoft has faced what very likely, I think Elon Musk will face, the Sherman Antitrust Act. It's just a matter of time. I'm absolutely convinced of this. I always expected it to come following not so much the midterms, but as of 2029, if the Democrats come back to power, but it might come sooner than I thought under Trump, a breaking of Elon Musk wealth and companies due to too much of a dominating monopoly. Bill Gates and Microsoft went through this, notably in terms of the European Union courts. Apple notably went through this. I'll give you a perfect example. The very charging system of Apple and the monopoly that it created. Google and the search engines. And now the personal impact of Musk venture into politics is basically shattering a lot of shareholders' key positions in his companies. It's going to go far. It's the beginning of the game. It's just week one. It's just week one. And we know Donald Trump. He's good at holding grudges. He doesn't let go.
Well, that's the thing too, is that he's got the power to go far, but it's a very interesting contrast between both of them. Both of them are, in some ways, they're twin kids of different mothers.
Well put.
Twin sons of different mothers, and one, and I just really sit back, but again, diverting from all the other stuff that's going on in America that needs to be addressed.
But it's not that I disagree, but the problem is that when you have a majority of Americans who choose to bring back to power such a character, what can you expect?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I have no sympathy towards. I see videos of Latinos who voted for Trump, and suddenly they're mad because either them or the relative or the friends are getting deported. I have no sympathy for you. You knew the character.
Yeah.
Blacks who are Trump fans and victims of racism, I have no sympathy for you. Whites who voted for Trump and the undocumented partner from Mexico or some South American country, or the parents are suffering because of the Trump policies, notably regarding healthcare, I have no sympathy for you. I really mean it. I have no sympathy for you. You put this person knowingly in power, convinced that the harm he openly claimed he would enact upon people would not touch you.
Yeah, because once it starts with one group, it's just on to the next group.
There you go.
Right. So no one should feel safe. Well, look who's in the house. Michelle Baptiste says, "Good evening, good people. Nice to see both of you. I hope that you are both
Hello, Michelle.
good to see you." All right. Because I know Cesar's time is in because he wants to get on the road. Next conversation topic. June is Mental Health Month.
Yes. An important conversation that we must have, whether we're talking about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but something people don't talk about enough, the very notion of vicarious trauma, how you can have trauma not directly impacting you as a first person, but through the experience of someone else. Example being the parent of a child that has experienced some serious negative thing, or in the workplace due to compassion fatigue, anxiety, depression. And as we are having this conversation, let us not forget that June being mental health month, awareness month, there is a particular aspect of mental health that needs to be addressed regarding minorities, especially indigenous and Black men. A legacy of slavery and colonization that still gives us systemic racism, but also the very realities as in the Black community, speaking of gender dynamics in terms of conflict between men and women, white acceptance in terms of the behaviors of far too many who are unable to be authentically Black, but simply the very notion of survival. And I'm not talking survival just in terms of paying bills. I'm talking survival, keeping your head straight if you live notably in an environment of temptation, keeping your head straight and your heart as straight or as pure as possible if around you, you don't see role models. I don't want to address the P. Diddy, Puffy, Sean Diddy Combs, and what's her name, Cassie situation and everything connected to that, but it speaks heavily of mental health in our community. Whether we look at P. Diddy, R. Kelly, Bill Crosby, the story of what's her name, the female singer Stallion something.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yes,
No?
and
Okay.
and the rapper Tory Lanez, I believe.
Yes. On how he shot her in the foot or something like that, and got
And
her.
apparently it wasn't even him. But we look at the behavior, the misbehavior of. I mean, I've never thought of him as a genius. I only liked him once when he said his truth over 10 years ago, 20 years ago now. Kanye West, and I repeat, Kanye West. I mean, that's mental health in the Black community. And we can go before that. Let's be honest, my Black people. Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson. Look, often in our Black community, we tend to hide mental health either as satire, joking, or claims of, you need to pray more, or Jesus or the devil, whatever, have overtaken you. We find it funny or interesting to see people, as I shared today, actually, as today is Sunday, and I like to share on religious matters on my wall on Facebook on Sundays. We even having white people going to Black churches and acting a fool, throwing themselves on the floor and shaking and claiming to speak tongues. Charlatans, all of them. But it speaks again to mental health. It speaks to a community where we say Black community, sure, because we have the skin color, but are we a community of care? Do we see ourselves as skinfolk or kinfolk? AKA, as our brother Malcolm X said, am I my brother's keeper? And we look out for one another. I'm saying this furthermore. I was a little bit conflicted. Should I come into this conversation and throw a bunch of numbers and statistics? No, I don't think so. I think it's that conversation where we need to, you know, look at our brothers and sisters and allow me to expand beyond skin color. Look at the next human being. And when we say Ubuntu, philosophy of the Xhosa people of South Africa, aka Madiba, Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, I am because you are, that recognition of humanity, that's mental health. That's literally the very, you remember this, Dr. Vibe. It's the difference between thinking a mama's joke, calling each other the N word, the
Yep.
B word, the S word, the C word. I don't know, you name it. Is it really funny? Or does it speak to how disconnected we are to our soul, to our humanity, to the very thing that makes it that crabs in a barrel mentality? Crabs should not even be in a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
When we get a racist white cop, I don't want to put all cops in the same basket, nor even all white cops in the same basket. When we get a racist white cop shooting at a brother or a sister, they're not shooting wondering which side of the Atlantic Ocean we come from the motherland or from one of the subs of the slave ship. They're not looking at status, education, do we own, do we rent, etc. We tend to be killed. We tend to be made into the next George Floyd. We tend to be made into the next Sandra Bland, the next Abdirahman Abdi, the next Regis Korchinski Paquet, and so many other names that I can name around the world. We tend to be killed simply because you are Black, while at the same time in our own community, far too many don't feel it is a community of care. Far too many feel it is something lacking when we have charlatan pastors and priests, to be honest, and imams will preach to a white God due to the alienation of slavery and colonization. Meanwhile, they don't truly uplift the community. We have artists who keep portraying this lavish lifestyle, pushing people who don't have the means to go spend, not as consumers, but in the spirit of consumerism, to feel alive. They overspend. It's kind of like that logic about the cars with the rims and the big screen TV in the poor neighborhood. Misplaced financial priorities that speak to the misplaced mindset. And who truly ends up suffering? The child. A lack of role models. And I'm not talking role models in terms of just having Black leaders as historical Black leaders as Dr. Martin Luther King or, Nelson Mandela or even Obama. No. I'm talking about being able to have our young children, elementary as high school, being able to think of a role model who looks like them without being someone on TV, someone on Instagram, someone on whatever app that they're using, but someone they can have a conversation with, they can call, who can hold their hand, who can say, I love you, care about you, who doesn't, how do you call that? Who doesn't call them by the N word? It's sick. It speaks to the disconnection about us. We can have this conversation about statistics and numbers, but when we have so many brothers and sisters who commit suicide or will commit acts of violence because mentally they're not well. I read the story, I think it was in April. Yes, it was in April as I was at the United Nations. This young 14-year-old Black youth was shot and killed a Black cop. But his mother and aunt in Newark were drug gang leaders. That's some serious dysfunctions right there. This mother and aunt likely are born in such a toxic environment that by default, the children that they had were condemned. We basically, it's called the broken cycle. Broken individuals with a broken mindset tend to repeat broken, and by such, they reproduce children, ACE, adverse childhood experiences, social determinants of health, etc. They reproduce children who born in such an environment of a broken cycle will tend to repeat the behaviors of the adult they see with catastrophic consequences. Catastrophic consequences.
Well, I listening to what you shared. It's that old lesson: hurting people hurt people, and
Absolutely.
then also specifically when it comes to men, and we're going to talk about men's mental health. This is also the month of Father's Day, and also in North America, 80% of the suicides that are committed by
men
45, and same thing with teenage men too.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I won't get into too much details. I've had preview to look at this. There's an organization called Movember that many people may have heard of. You hear about them in their cancer November, and their November month raising funds. They are going to be releasing in the very near future a proposal to they're forwarding to the Canadian government for a national men's health policy.
And this is an important conversation furthermore because far too many people, notably women, denial of it due to negative sentiments towards men, due to misandry, hatred towards men, due to, notably as we are Black men, looking at Black men as always making up excuses instead of tackling the white men in the fight against white supremacy, which is an absolute lie. Yes, as any community, we have Black men who have failed and who are still failing to be standing, not just for the community, but for their own family, and especially for themselves in terms of who and what they can be. Absolutely. But this is not exclusive to Black men. But to use that is basically to be blind to all the fine brothers and sisters who are standing up and being role models and honoring the race, the ancestors, and creating a better future for our children and our descendants. Hurt people hurt people. Yeah. And we have far too many of that in our community. They can harm themselves, yes, suicide, and too often they harm others due to their own pain.
True. I know our time is tight, Cesar, so I want to ask you, do you want to finish off with this topic or do you want to fit in one more?
We can fit in one more. It doesn't really have to be, it really doesn't have to be long. It's a very short topic, the third one.
Before we get there, Inspired Thoughts has this comment: take a closer look at the structure of the foundation, which was given to him as a gift from his father. I guess she's talking about Elon Musk. Look even harder at the outcomes of many of the projects he is attached to. So there you go. All right. Final conversation topic before we let Cesar get on the road. Black athletes.
Yes.
Representation.
So this is very much, it's a global conversation, as we know, in terms of Black athletes, and the contrast between Black men and women, Simone Biles, Serena Williams, but especially Black men. Coco Gauff, yes, congratulations.
French
congratulations
Open,
to our young sister for winning the French Open, of course. But it's a conversation regarding how Black bodies are celebrated in victory, and yet in defeat, racism tends to lurk in. A reminder that we are first and foremost and only seen as Black. But I didn't mean to bring this conversation at a global level. I wanted to keep it Canadian, and more specifically, the province of Quebec. Because tonight, for the Indiana Pacers, there will be Bénédicte Mathurin, who will be playing. And for the Indiana Pacers, there will be Luguentz Dort. Very interestingly, These two brothers will play on different teams, are born in the province of Quebec. And there was a conversation, no, there is a conversation ongoing about whether, because many newspapers and also media, including RDS, basically the French TSN, have been advertising them as two Quebecers in the NBA Finals. And many blacks, including me, have taken offense to that. Not because it's not true, they're born in Quebec, of course. But not only Quebec is not a state. So the Canadians, in the context of the NBA, but let us not forget that the province of Quebec is a province for our American friends. Province in Canada is the equivalent of state in the USA. The province of Quebec does not recognize systemic racism. And as such, what ends up happening is that when you have a black person who shines and becomes a public figure, when he's doing good, he tends to be referred to as Quebecer, Canadian, American, you name it, Christian. But when he fails or he brings disgrace, suddenly he stands back to his roots, to his origins, the Haitians, the Jamaicans, the Nigerians, the African American. It's no longer the American, it's the African American. And that's if it's not simply the black, as a negative connotation. So I support our brothers and sisters in Quebec who have been keeping vigilance on making sure to point out the hypocrisy of Quebec in terms of government and society, in reminding them the same two brothers, Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers and Luguentz Dort of the Oklahoma City Thunders, if they were negatively portrayed in media, they would be talked about as two Quebecers. They would be talked about simply as two black men. And it's not just a descriptive in terms of the skin color, because we know damn well those are the same media who don't exactly talk about two white men in terms of the language. So that's basically what I want to bring. It's good to represent the nation, the state in which you're born, and that has given you opportunity. As I was saying early in the show, I'm a very patriotic Canadian. I grew up in France, elementary school. I'm born in Cameroon. I am proud of all my roots. Ethnically, my wife is African American. I am honored to have traveled the world. I'm honored to have friends and colleagues from all over the world, from Brazil to England to you name it, Egypt, etc., China. Great. I salute our people who follow me, who have sent me messages from China, Taiwan, or Malaysia. There you go. All over the world. But let us not be hypocrite. Let us keep vigilance when we are celebrated versus when we are seen negatively, the type of discrimination and racism that is used in language against us.
Great way to close out today's conversation. Fantastic. So that is it for the conversation today. And Cesar, as always, want to say thank you for joining us today. One last thing, actually two things. First of all,
yes,
Inspired Thought says, sorry, I was speaking about the Gates Foundation.
So, yes, I figured when you said
okay.
Foundation, yes, I figured, yes.
So
thank you, brother. And he is right.
Yeah.
Like I said, I relatively agree because it's true. I mean, look, let's face it, money, power, no respect. People act according to their interests. Ultimately, we shouldn't be there having an issue with Bill Gates, Elon Musk, or even Donald Trump. We have to build stronger black communities, to have stronger black nations, but that can only start if we have stronger black families born from stronger black individuals, starting in their identity. Not identity simply in terms of skin color. I am not a proponent of the we were kings or we was kings, whatever the racists online put it. No. But we have to know our roots in order to build a better present and inspire a better future. So it's in that sense. Musk, Gates, Trump, they come and go. We are still here, but we cannot still be here at the bottom. We got to rise, and in rising, we will find not only allies of all colors and shades. How many of our people know Uncle Ho, aka Ho Chi Minh of Vietnam?
Ho Chi Minh Trail.
In the 1920s, one of the people who inspired him was hearing speeches of a man by the name of Marcus Garvey.
Nice.
How many people know that? Let us be that community. Let us be that community that inspired beyond dancing and sports and whatever other foolishness or new trends some Black people put online. Let us be that community that is respected because we build ourselves. And you know what? There are many white allies. There are many Asian allies. There are many brown, Latino, you name it, indigenous allies. But we have to also be allies to our own betterment.
Inspired Thought says, agreed, Cesar. And also Michelle Baptiste says, generational trauma is a real thing. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You're on bi-weekly, so you won't be on next Sunday. So I'm going to ask you quick. Next Sunday is Father's Day. Any thoughts and reflections before we let you go?
Well, I'm going to inspire myself from women who may not be mothers in terms of having given birth, but will notably have lost children due to miscarriage and abortion. Happy Father's Day to all of our brothers and all the men out there, whether or not you have a child. And I say this as a father, but notably as one who, before he was even a father, people would come to him, look up as a role model, look up as someone to inspire. You may not have a father necessarily by birth, but maybe for a minute, you sounded like a father to someone who needed to hear from you. Happy Father's Day, of course, to those who are fathers in the literal sense, but also to those who may be role model, who may be inspiring, and who, even if it's just for a minute, did sound like a father to someone who needed them.
Beautiful close. If you want to get a hold of Cesar, email president@rootsandculturecanada.com. And also you can catch him on Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. Cesar, travel safe as always.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Take care and be well. Keep the then love to the family. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is it for another episode of Black Canada Talking. So before we close it out, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on, email me dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And finally, you can watch replays of Black Canada Talking at the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and at the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. Also, you can get a hold of me at my website, also on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the drvibeshow, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, email dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Also on Substack, drvibe.substack.com/subscribe, and on Blue Sky, drvibe.bsky.social. We close it out like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. But try to do both. And always make it better. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's appreciated and not taken for granted. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good. And we'll catch you soon.
Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. Vibe welcome you into the show. As I told you, Dr. Vibe.
No. I welcome. I'm really good to have you here. I didn't want to. You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. You were on a roll, but
In an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites, and you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word bro.
yes, it is. That's the first time as long as I've known you used it.
My daughter would laugh.
But for many people, the economy ain't great. Cesar, there we go. I saw that. I saw that.